like to call to order the Planning and Development Committee meeting for Monday, January 27th, 2025. Tonight's invocation will be given by Father Kenneth Anderson. If everyone could please stand. We'll have the prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Eternal God, creator of every good thing, look lovingly upon these men and women who have stepped forward to serve as stewards of government. We humbly ask for your guidance and wisdom in their deliberations. May their decisions be made with justice, compassion, and a deep concern for the well-being of our community. Grant them attention to the diverse perspectives, to seek common good, and to act with integrity. We thank you for these, your servants. Protect them with your love. We pray for your presence will be with them throughout this meeting. Amen.
We'll move right into our public speakers. For those speaking tonight, just as a reminder, you will have 3 minutes to make your comments, at which time you'll hear an alarm go off, and we just ask that you bring your comments to a close at that time. There are 2 microphones located in the back of the horseshoe, one on the left and the right side. Feel free to step up to either one. That being said, our first speaker tonight is Prophet Yusuf.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the book of 2 Timothy, the first chapter, the 7th verse, it says, "For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline." What I want to speak about tonight lies about immigrants. Undocumented immigrants pay higher tax rates than the top 1%. Undocumented immigrants contribute $96.7 billion in taxes in the United States in 2022 and paid higher state and local tax rates than the top 1% of our household. In the vast majority of states, a study published July the 30th revealed that the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy study found that undocumented immigrants paid $59.4 billion in federal taxes and contribute an additional $37.4 billion to state and local tax coffers in 2022 per capita. They paid $8,889 in total taxes. The study authors found that if all current undocumented immigrants were allowed to work legally in the United States, their total tax contribution would soar by $40.2 billion per year to $136.9 billion. Most of the tax dollars paid by undocumented immigrants are collected through levies applied to their incomes, the report states. This includes broad income taxes as well as narrow payroll taxes levied on workers' earnings that are dedicated to specified program. It is well established that undocumented workers contribute to the saving of major social insurance programs through their tax contributions. In many respects, undocumented immigrants face a harsher tax code than legal residents. The publication continues. They often pay taxes that are dedicated to funding programs for which they are barred from participating because of their immigration status. In addition, undocumented immigrants and the citizen members of their families are ineligible for the federal earned income tax credit. The study found that more than 1/3 of the taxes paid by undocumented immigrants fund government programs, and so they are prohibited from use. In 2022, the most recent year for which data is available, they paid $25.7 billion on Social Security tax, $6.4 billion in Medicare taxes, and $1.8 billion in unemployment insurance tax. It's time for followers of Jesus Christ to stand up and speak up and say, we are tired of the way you are treating immigrants in the United States. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is John Tack Brantley.
Good evening, Mayor McNamara and our alderpersons, most of all, our citizens of Rockford, Illinois. Didn't have no idea what he was going to be talking about, but I'm bouncing off what he said. The Statue of Liberty was given to the United States by France in 1865, right after 1868, right after the Civil War. The Statue of Liberty was saying, bring in your poor, your wretched, and what have you. Half of this country was once upon a time was owned by Mexico. I am blown away. Donald Trump did not lie when he said he was going to be a dictator. Not a dictator for one day, but a dictator from here on out. His first thing he did was tack the 14th Amendment. How can you expedite doctors when your family members and his wife, his 5 kids, are born by a foreign female from Yugoslavia? And then on top of that, he is from Germany. His parents got their riches off of prohibition, and his grandfather did prohibition. So why not, Donald Trump, expedite yourself back to Germany? The one guy that gave him all that money did his hands hide Hitler and what have you. I want to just jump off of that. All the 59% of the Hispanics, males who voted for Donald Trump, you reap what you wrote. And what have you. And he going after your family members, and the same thing. 8.6 million African Americans did not vote because they was upset with the Democratic Party. They picked the wrong time to be upset with the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party should have been standing up to Donald Trump and all his lies, but they did not. I'm going to stop there because I want to talk about our kids, because I want to thank Gina Minks. We went to Allen Chapel Church 5 weeks in a row. They talked about Dr. King this past Saturday. Some of our kids was poorly dressed. They bought our kids clothes. The pastor taken in and embraced our kids, because it takes a village to raise a child. Our kids do not know who Dr. King is. We can't get mad at the school system or the system about educating our kids our history. During slavery, they didn't want us to learn how to read and write. We found a way to read and write. We always adapted and adjusted no matter what they did. Even during the 60s, we had 4 assassinations, 2 by African Americans and 2 brothers that was assassinated. We always adapted and adjusted no matter what they did. It take a village to raise a child. I told y'all, you see me? We don't play. I told y'all I'm like mother deer with pants on and whatnot. But we have to all work with our kids. I want to thank the mayor, because the mayor been very supportive. But y'all don't realize I'm one of the mayor's best advisors, because I'm out here in these streets, and I got that doctor and that PhD from being in these streets, and he know when I come there, I'm gonna bring him the truth. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Hey, y'all, we getting ready to roll.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and segue into the Planning and Development Committee meeting. Clerk, will you please call the roll? Here.
Here.
Present.
Here.
Thank you. We have 2 items under committee reports. First item is approval for the proposed development agreement with Premier Woodworking, Inc. and Illinois Corporation for the demolition of 1512 7th Street. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Alderman Barrios?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak in your committee. Okay, the reason we're going to do the demolition is because illegal dumping and several complaints. But the thing that I have a question is why we're going to use the TIF money to do the demolition of this building.
Chairwoman, so Alderman Barrios is correct that this property has been a blight, and we've received a number of complaints on it. Ultimately, it went through tax delinquency and was recently placed up for bid, where Premier Woodworking was the highest bidder, and their intentions of the property were to acquire it for blight reduction through demolition. We had begun conversations with them some time ago when they were going through this process. to accomplish this, not knowing whether this would be an economic development project where they would be doing addition or solely blight reduction. So this is solely a blight reduction project at this point in time. We would recommend as part of this proposal that we utilize the blight reduction funds that were approved by council as part of our ARPA plan rather than direct TIF funds. So we would offset the TIF with $80,000 of ARPA blight reduction funds.
Thank you, sir. Because the reason we're going to use these funds is for incremental taxes generated for development or redevelopment of the property, redevelopment projects. So if we're going to start using the TIF money for demolition, is my personal thinking. I think we're using the money and it's not a proper way. It's just my thinking, sir. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Alderwoman Meeks?
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. Premier Woodworking was actually one of the first businesses that I went to visit when I first became alderman. This has been a family-owned, ongoing business for a very long time. They have future plans. This is just kind of the start to a long-term plan that they have to continue that might include workforce development programs and lots of things that can be implemented in this community. And I think from a company like this, it would be a huge impact for the city of Rockford. So me personally, I think this is a great use of the funds. I appreciate the city for working with this business to allow for this. And I'd love to see us see this through. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So just for staff, can you share with us a few projects where TIF dollars have been used or any dollars have been used in regards to demolition to allow for redevelopments to take place? Can you think of any just projects off the top of your head?
So not specifically off the top of my head. I know that we have used TIF funds as well as other funds for blight reduction and demolition. We have considered the removal of blight part of economic development growth. I mean, probably some of the larger projects I've seen in the past, we've used, TIFs when we demolished the former Kmart on North Main Street, and then came in with new construction after the fact. Certainly, as we looked at demolition, we recognize when you have a vacant and dilapidated building next to your building or property, how that devalues the property at its place. It's certainly an eligible TIF expense, and how we had originally discussed it. But through conversations with our team and Alderman Barrios, that's why we're recommending an offset of the TIF through the blight reduction funds that were approved with the budget surplus plan.
And I just wanted to follow up there, as I think that's important for voters and or citizens to understand, is that you really have one of two options: redevelopment of the building itself or a demolition of the building. And in some cases, that redevelopment of the building actually will end up costing more. And so I think that's important for people to understand that. Having served on Historic Preservation Commission for 6 years, that oftentimes becomes the question: is there a redevelopment option that is sustainable and where a project can get done, or is it something where it's past that point and there needs to be some discussion of removal of the building and mitigation of those environmental factors?
Alderman Barrios?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak in your committee. Okay, so the company purchased this property, Premier Woodworking. It's a well-known company, and this is my ward, so I know that company probably more than a few here. And I have relations with the owner, with the father, with the son. But I'm happy for see something happening. But there is an empty parking lot right on Broadway, right to their property, and it's already in place. The reason I'm asking for this particular address, because there is a potential buyer that wants to buy the property. I'm nothing against nothing. It's just that I think, again, the TIF money we're using it for the wrong reason. Thank you.
Alderwoman Meeks.
So much. Todd, can you tell me if the company Premier Woodworking has, I believe I saw that they purchased it from the trustee, correct?
So they have not closed on the property at our recommendation, but they are the highest bidder.
That's what I thought.
And so they are the interested party that has first option to purchase the property. We recommended that they do not close on the property until we had the opportunity to bring this development agreement forward, and so that it could quickly move into demolition once they took ownership of it.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Aye.
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 Thank you. That item passes. Item 2 is an approval for the proposed development agreement with Urban Equity Properties for the rehabilitation of 119 to 121 South Main Street for mixed-use residential, commercial, retail development at the southwest corner of South Main Street and Elm Street. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Alderwoman Meeks.
Thank you so much. So this particular development, I guess it shouldn't have come as a surprise because we've been talking about movement at this Chick House or Chick Hotel for a while. I will say that when we originally talked about this and we gave the $500,000 from the budget surplus funds, I originally wanted to see some form of a workforce development program take place at this location. I have a strong feeling that that is not going to be the case. Can you confirm that?
So correct. This is a redevelopment agreement for the project, but there's not a workforce development component.
Okay. I guess I just want to say when we're utilizing city funds of this nature, the $500,000 that we've implemented already, plus the $2.7 million that we're giving, is that a forgivable loan? Is that what I saw?
Correct.
Okay, so when we're giving funds away like that, I would love for us to kind of look at a long-term plan so that we can try to incorporate workforce development programs wherever we can. I think that we found much success in the work that we've already done, so to be able to kind of scale that in these different locations, I think would be beneficial to many people in the city. So I just want that to be thought of as we move forward with these kinds of agreements. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Aye.
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 Thank you. That item passes. 2 items under resolutions. Number 1 is the approval of the Regrow Tier 2 award recommendations from the Community Relations Commission. There will be 4 $50 awards and 2 $100,000 awards. The funding source is the 3% local tax on adult use cannabis retail sales. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Alderwoman Meeks.
Thank you so much. Is there another round of funding coming for this, for Regrow?
There is not another round planned in 2025. We are going to try and make this more of a regular grant cycle. We worked with the Community Relations Commission leadership to try and get it. So from now on, we'll do it January through March. So the applications would be available end of the year, open in January, and then voted on in February and March of every year.
And then I just want to confirm that if there are other programs that have interest of doing something or implementing something in the community, how would they go about releasing some of the 3% cannabis funds? Would they just connect with Community and Economic Development Department?
So if they want to apply for funding in the future?
For specific for from the 3% cannabis funds?
Sure. So this particular program, right, was a program voted on by City Council. So it has its own guidelines and time, and it's voted. So it's got a whole system for it. If there were other ways you wanted to look at spending that particular funding, that would be something you'd work with Todd and Carrie on. It'd be a separate from this program.
All righty. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Sorry. Alderwoman Hoffman.
Thank you. I'm kind of curious, if we bring it up in January, vote on it in February, about when do they get their funds?
Sure. So it takes, so let's see, like after the vote, the final vote by City Council to approve the funders or who we're funding, we just need a few weeks to get them in, sign an agreement, get their W-9, make sure we've got everything detailed from them. We met with each awardee for Tier 1 already just to go over, this is what you said you'd do, so remember this is what you have to do, that kind of thing. So it took us, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks to get everybody in.
So around March of each year?
So yeah, so if we award Tier 1s through City Council process in February, then they would get funding in March. So and then we'd award Tier 2 in March through City Council, so then the funding would come more in April.
Thank you.
Alderman Rose.
Yeah, real quick. I wanted to make a note that a few city councils ago I had made a misstatement, and after talking with you, I wanted to just make it public that I had misspoke and wanted to address that. But also, a question in regards to the implementation phase is, when the grant holders receive that money, how does the city confirm that they've accomplished what they said they were going to do with due diligence?
Sure. So they've all been told that at 6 months they'll have to turn in a report, and there's specific reporting times that we're going to bring back some indication of what they're doing to the Community Relations Commission to keep that on track. Internally, if we're at that 6 month point, if they haven't spent or they've overspent, it'll be a barometer. For some of the grants, like the last time, we checked in then more like monthly after that to make sure it stayed on track or that they were back onto the expenses they had said, whatever the issue was. But we definitely have at least a 6 months report that everyone will give us.
And you've had that in place for a few years, correct? Or
right, correct. This is really our second full round right, of doing this, but yes, we did that with all the other grantees the last time around.
And last time around, did you have anyone who did not reach that compliance component, or?
We did not have anyone not reach compliance. We had a few people take a while to spend the money.
Which was common through COVID and stuff,
Right.
Yeah.
Or just you put in a project because you're pretty sure it's going to happen, and then the board or whoever was supposed to sign up. Things just take a while sometimes, right? Yeah. For a nonprofit, there's some volunteer factors that can take a little bit longer, but we kept with them, and everyone spent their money and met their objectives.
Thank you for confirming that.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Alderman Durkee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We get those reports, those interim reports, right?
Yes, we can make sure that you get them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, one question about the after-school music program. Mm-hmm. It sounds really good. How do students access that? How do they get there with transportation and stuff?
They're going to do it right at the school to make it available.
They're going to do it in the school, not
in the school. Yep.
Okay, all right.
The money was being spent on the equipment so they could bring it to that school.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
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 Thank you. That item passes. Item 2 is the authorization for acceptance of the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity Grant in the amount of $500,000 to implement the Rockford Products Redevelopment Project at 2720 Kishwaukee Street and 711 Harrison Avenue. The city will act as a pass-through on this grant, receiving grant funds from the DCEO and reimbursing the developer. This grant is in addition to the prior $150,000 grant received from the DCEO for the same project. There will be no cost to the city. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions? Alderwoman Meeks.
I just want to understand it more. So this is just added funding for the grant that we already approved several months ago?
Correct.
They just said they wanted to give them more money?
Well, this is for a little different scope of work than that first grant. This is for the removal and replacement of the roof. The other $150,000 was for a different scope of work.
Awesome. And nobody has to pay for this. This is all coming from DCEO funding?
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Aye.
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 Thank you. That item passes. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. This meeting is adjourned. Okay, good evening. We will begin the Code and Regulation Committee for Monday, January 27th, 2025. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Karina.
Here.
Wilkins. Here. Barrios. Here. Bailey. Bonnie. Here. 5 present.
All right, we have a quorum and a full agenda. Starting with item number 1 under committee reports, Spring Creek Road and Brookview Road, the Traffic Commission recommends approval to establish a 20-mile-per-hour school zone speed limit restriction at Spring Creek Road from Brookview Road, east intersection to Mulford Road. May I have a motion to approve this item? Thank you. So this was sent back to us from the Traffic Commission, that and item number 2. So I guess my first question is, when I look at the Traffic Commission notes, what was noted was Kaylin responded that it does. Okay, she also pointed out that this item is an extension of an existing speed zone at Spring Creek Elementary, and that the upgraded pedestrian crossing at Shawwoods Road can be used as justification for this request. Just what does that mean to us that are sort of looking at this with a new lens of wanting to approve it, but that doesn't feel like much of a difference? Oh, let me turn you on here.
Basically, so there's an existing school zone speed limit on Spring Creek in front of the elementary school, with the addition of the signalized crossing at Shawwoods for Guilford High School. The Traffic Commission said that the IDOT criteria for establishing a speed zone supports this, warrants a speed zone here. This was brought with the anticipation of more pedestrians crossing Spring Creek here, and so we aren't introducing a new speed zone. The Traffic Commission said that we're essentially extending an existing zone.
Are there any questions or discussion from council on this item? You're looking at me like you want to say something. Alderman Bonnie.
Thank you. So, so just because something meets IDOT's criteria does not mean that the City of Rockford has to it's not a state mandate, in other words, it's a recommendation?
Correct.
So we don't have to adhere to that.
Correct.
And if we were to approve this, the 20-mile-an-hour speed zone would, am I reading it correctly, essentially extend for the vast majority of the stretch between Alpine and Mulford?
It would be, I don't know if it would be the majority of the length, but it would be a significant length.
But it would go all the way to Mulford?
Yes, correct.
Starting at Spring
Creek Elementary there.
Which is practically at Alpine.
It's, this elementary school is just west of Shaw Woods. I shouldn't say just west. It doesn't go all the way to Alpine. I'm trying to picture.
Isn't it at Spring Brook and Spring Creek?
No. This is, I would say, 500 feet west of Guilford High School.
What elementary school are we talking about? We're not talking about Spring Creek Elementary School?
This would be Spring Creek Elementary. It's offset off of Spring Creek some distance. I don't know if you...
But it's near the intersection of Spring Brook and Spring Creek, right? No? Okay. Okay. All right.
Alderman Frost.
Yeah, I think what Alderman Bonnie was getting at was Guilford High School is basically a quarter mile west of Mulford, and then Spring Creek is further west by Springdale. I'm an alumni at both Spring Creek Elementary School and Guilford High School, so I was subject matter authority.
Go Bears.
And I walked to both schools. That's how things have changed. But I'm not. Thank you for allowing me to speak in this committee. That area from Spring Creek Elementary School to Mulford might be a mile in length. I mean, it's not like it's just a small distance. It covers a great majority of asphalt there, and I don't know what the Traffic Commission really articulation was for doing this, only because you're really taking out. There are, like, in front of Guilford High School, there is a shoulder on each side of the road. There are not sidewalks. Students, I drive this road, almost daily, and there are never students walking along Spring Creek Road to get to Guilford High School. Now, are there some that cross Shaw Woods Drive? There are an occasional students, but the buses use the east entrance of Guilford High School with a roundabout or a circle drive there, and then there's a student parking lot on the west side of the school, and students do park along Shaw Woods Drive. They're high school students that are driving to school. They're not walking along Spring Creek, which I consider to be a significant, thoroughfare in our city. So to lower the speed limit on Spring Creek Road during a morning commute, I mean, you're really talking about really slowing down traffic for a great deal of time. And one is I don't think this is ever going to get enforced. And two is I don't know who it's really protecting. So I don't know what the Traffic Commission's rationale was for protecting, whether it was students or who. And frankly, if you want to see a line of cars backed up, come and see the cars that are going westbound on Spring Creek that are queued up to pull into Spring Creek School. No kids walk to Spring Creek School. No parents probably allow their kids to cross Spring Creek School to get to school. I mean, that would be frankly a negligent act on the parents, not the driver. So I just think having a 20-mile-an-hour zone on a road that's this heavily traveled, I mean, literally, it's one of the most heavily traveled roads in the entire city. Both schools, by the way, in Spring Creek School even further, the frontage distance from the Spring Creek School out to the Spring Creek Road is significant. There's a long drive to go into it. It's not like the school's on top of it. Kids aren't playing out there in the morning when they get dropped off. So I just think for those reasons, I don't think it's a safety factor, and I think the convenience factor to all of the users of the road outweigh the need to have a 20-mile-an-hour zone, which in my mind is never going to get enforced anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Frost. Alderman Bonnie?
Thank you. Okay, so maybe let me ask it this way. What is the existing zone for Spring Creek Elementary School, from where to where?
I don't know if I know that exact, if I know the exact limits. All I would know is it's in front of the
Does it
elementary.
go all the way to Alpine?
I wouldn't think so. Typically,
Go to Spring Brook? Does it start at Spring Brook?
I can't imagine it starts that far back.
Because the only intersection, so you come off of Alpine, if you're eastbound, you go to Spring Brook is the first intersection, then Hickory Avenue, and then you're on the Spring Creek School property.
Okay.
So how much, I mean, to be effective, it has to at least start at Hickory Avenue, right?
Yeah, I don't know where it starts. I would say probably around there.
Hickory borders the school on one side, and Springdale, as Alderman Frost said, borders it on the other side. So I guess what I'm getting at is we would essentially be putting in a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit for most of, if not all, of Spring Creek from Alpine to Mulford. And I would think we would know this before we bring it to council. So in addition to the issues that Alderman Frost raised, again, why are we doing this for Spring Creek? What about East High School on very busy Charles Street? What about Eisenhower, also on Spring Creek? What about Flynn on Harrison? What about Auburn on Auburn? I mean, if we do it for Guilford, are we going to get requests from all these schools that happen to be on equally busy or nearly as busy major roads in our communities? I just don't see how we do this. This doesn't make sense.
I hear you. The request did come from a resident, not the school specifically. I just wanted to make that clear. But
correct. I understand that.
Yeah. All right. Is there Alderman Rose and then Alderman Durkee?
So in regards to that, like the resident had requested, what was the request exactly?
Well, the resident saw that the additional pedestrian crossings were going to happen at Shaw Woods and requested a school zone speed limit. It was pretty simple as that, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I guess to follow up with that, I mean, one of the primary functions of government is safety of people, and particularly kids, and going to school. I mean, like, that's just a primary piece of good government. So I guess from my perspective is that it doesn't matter if it's one kid. I mean, we should be providing those types of crossings and those types of access because all it takes is one kid. And so for something not so great to happen. And so, you know, I've dealt with this along Rockton Avenue and Huffman. They're not as busy of roads as the ones mentioned, but you know, speeding's an issue, I think, in the city. I think if you talk to most residents, you'll hear that. So any types of speed mitigation that we can put in, crosswalks, lights, whatever we need to, we should be doing. And the thing that kind of bothers me is when you go up to like communities like Madison, you see them. Like they're very much in plain sight for everyone to see. And part of it is because it's a university town, but we have lived so much in this world that, you know, in Rockford, that you can travel across town in 25 minutes. But at the same time, it's when you're speeding or when you're going fast and you're not thinking about the fact that there might be a kid that needs to cross, I just think we have to provide those types of services in any case, no matter if it's one kid or if it's 100 kids, because access to school and access to education, it should be a priority of us.
Did you want to respond to that, Alderman Bonnie?
Another question. So this intersection or this crosswalk at Shaw Woods, is that going to be, like, for example, the one in front of East High School, push button activated?
Yes.
So there's going to be a light that's going to turn red?
Yes.
Okay. So how much will the decrease in speed limit affect whether somebody's going to stop for that red light?
Yeah, I would say it would be a low correlation.
So I want to apologize. I didn't mean to suggest that you, Mr. Higgins, did.
Oh, that's fine.
I mean, I understand this is coming. We sent it back to the Traffic Commission. They're sending it back to us. I don't think we should. Rather than, I'm going to make a motion to lay this over, because I think that if we're going to approve this or even think about approving it, we need to think about how this is going to, what kind of domino effect this is going to have at all of the other high schools and middle schools. You know, there's also Lincoln on Charles Street. I'm sure I'm forgetting several others that are all on busy thoroughfares in Rockford. And why would we do it for Guilford?
Can we also sort of get some safety? Is there any safety figures we can get about, I don't know, accidents, or especially at these points that they're asking for these speed limit reductions, if there's been any accidents, pedestrian issues in the past? That would be helpful as well.
And I'm sorry.
I'll second that motion.
Actually, can we also lay over item 2? 1 and 2?
Well, yeah, that's fine. I'll second that motion. We need to vote on that, don't we? Yeah. Any questions on the motion to lay over? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And also, I just want to be clear that we're laying over items 1 and 2. Is this still an aye?
Aye.
Aye. Can we still vote on 1 and 2? Aye. Aye. Okay, thank you.
Aye.
All right. For both? Okay. The item still passes. All right. Moving on. So item number 3, I would like to make the motion to refer this back to traffic. The church where this is located did not have the opportunity to voice their concern on this, and they would like to. So I'd like to make a motion to lay this back, to send this back to traffic.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, any questions on the motion? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. That motion is laid over. I'm sorry, not laid over. It's sent back to traffic. Number 4. Montana Avenue and Florida Drive, the Traffic Commission recommends approval to establish a no parking anytime restriction on both sides of Montana Avenue from Florida Drive to 30 feet south of Florida Drive. May I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Thank you. Alderman Hoffman, did you have any comments on this one? Not to call you out, but I saw your name on the traffic notes.
Actually, I drove it after I got the complaint, and it's every bit as bad as they said.
Okay.
And the big discussion was which side, and now it looks like they decided both sides. And if you saw let me go back up here. Yeah, on both sides. And if you saw that actual curve, you would know why. There isn't a good choice.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on this item? We'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. That item passes. Thank you, Mr. Hankins.
Thank you.
We'll just give staff a moment to be seated. Item number 5, 401 West State Street, Suite 200. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends denial for a special use permit for a needle exchange in a C4 urban mixed-use zoning district at 401 West State Street. Live for Lowley is the applicant. Do I have a motion to sustain the denial? So moved. Thank you. Okay, so I imagine we'll have a lot of discussion on this item. Mr. Capavilla, can you just give us an overview, please, of both the staff denial and the ZBA denial, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. So in evaluating this, obviously we took a hard look at this. We think the organization is great at what they're doing. But based on past experience with the needle exchange that was once attempted over on 7th Street, things didn't go too well, and there was a lot of issues. We think that with the attempts in downtown, with all the redevelopment that's occurring, that having this type of location right across from our courthouse would not be advantageous. It would go against the downtown strategic plan, and we feel like it could, basically inhibit further growth and deter people from our downtown. That was a lot of the same reasonings that the zoning board also recommended to deny this as well.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman Hoffman?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I agree with you on 7th Street. Horrible, destroyed the neighborhood all around it. And I agree with what you're saying here, but is there a recommendation for some place to have a needle exchange?
So there's going to be some discussions with our health department regarding that, and it's about all I can say at this time. So it's something that Dr. Martell and our staff are talking about.
Alderwoman Meeks.
Thank you for allowing me to speak on your committee. I was just curious, there is clearly a homeless population that is downtown right now. So is there any talks or plans about something that's being done about the activity that's currently taking place downtown with our homeless population and drug-addicted population?
I think if you're grouping all homeless as drug addicts, I think that would be totally
incorrect.
incorrect.
That's why I just clarified that at the end, and drug-addicted population as well. So let's focus on that. My apologies.
Well, I think our Human Services Department deals with a lot of the homeless people, and I believe right now we have our homeless count, our annual homeless count going on right now, if I'm not mistaken. So when they encounter these people, they try to track them, find out who they are, where they're living, can they be employed, do they have addictions? They go through a whole myriad of things, and that's why we do this every year, to try to find ways to help these people. Obviously, there's some of these people that do not want help. I'm someone who lives downtown, just a few blocks from here, and I see this all the time. So I see people, I say, hey, it's too cold out, let's get you to the shelter, and they just ignore me. They don't want to deal with people. So a lot of this, I think, has to do with mental health issues as well.
Well, yeah, so considering we know that the population is growing and not decreasing, that's even more reason why we should find more funding to supplement Department of Health and Human Services for situations just like this. And if we're going to move those opportunities of needle exchanges and things like that in the primary area where a lot of individuals might reside or congregate, then we might want to really think about some alternatives for funding to assist in this matter. So I just want to put that out there. Thank you so much.
So in reading the proposal from, what is the name of this? Live for Lolly. They're not here, are they? Oh, I wish they were. This organization currently exists in that building and currently offers services. That's correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
With the exception they do not provide needles to anyone.
Okay. So is the fear, so it's like, I guess I want to ask the question, and I don't know that the city could answer it, but I guess what I'm thinking is, it seems like they're already serving the population that would have the need in the building already. And so it's just sort of like adding an additional service. And then according to everything that they're saying in their report, that it's a misnomer to think that they're just bringing in people to use syringes. So that's kind of like a very, very small bit of even what they do is of people bringing in used syringes. So it's almost like it wouldn't necessarily be a problem, even though it would be, while they would allow the service, not many people even use it in the first place. So then I'm curious, because I understand that the Winnebago Health Department, which is only a block up, they also have a syringe exchange service. I'm curious to know from them, maybe we'll have to reach out to them to find out how many people actually come to that place, that location, to give used needles, right? So I'm saying all of this to say, what happens in our city a lot is that we think, so I'll just use the chicken example. People they already have chickens, right? But we try to create ordinance to control and have order around the issue that already exists. And we don't want it because we automatically think everybody's gonna go run and get chickens. But the reality is that people already have them. So I'm looking at this situation sort of through the same lens of Live for Loudly already exists in that building. And I don't want us to fear that all these people are just gonna be lining up with dirty used needles when in fact, this population is already being served in that building. And I used to work directly across the street at 119 Court when I worked for Congresswoman Bustos. And I also had to literally walk the block from the block in front of the courthouse to my building. So I'm very, very well versed and familiar with the population of individuals that are in that area. And I feel like when we say that it doesn't belong here, it's kind of like, well, the people are already there. So I'm kind of with Alderwoman Meeks when she said, what's a better location when it's like the people that need these services are literally already in the area. There's the courthouse is right there. There's so many social services in the area. There's homeless shelters in the area. The population is already there. So again, I don't want us to get in this mindset of thinking that just because this service is offered, which is a good one, and everything I'm reading, like I didn't know what an SSP was. I had to research it. So I started doing research on the CDC site, and I'm looking at everything I'm reading and saying that's good for communities. To know that there's one by our own health department a block away tells me it's good for the community. And then now it's like, well, we can't put one here because it doesn't belong there, but they're already in the building. So it's just kind of my comments. I don't necessarily know if I had a question, but it's just some thoughts that I wanted to share with regards to this issue. I just don't believe that them offering this additional service is going to make it to where there's going to be lines around the block. You know what I'm saying? And we have to stop fearing certain types of people in our community. I'm over it. I'm over it. We try and put poor people on one side because they don't belong over here. Don't build that over here because I don't want it in my neighborhood. And it's kind of like I'm getting the same energy from this that we don't want it over here because it's a certain type of people when I feel like those people are already there. Alderman Rose.
Yeah, thank you for expressing that because I kind of feel that same kind of feeling. But I guess my question would be, my question, and then I have a follow-up would be, is what are the goal of these kind of programs? And I guess in kind of talking it out loud, the goal is to, A, provide a safe place where they can exchange them so that you don't have them on the street, right? You don't want people throwing them out or putting, where kids can find them and things like that. I mean, obviously there's that service part there where it's keeping those needles from ending up in the street. But I think also the idea that those needles are clean and sterilized so that people aren't sharing them or spreading disease. I mean, that there's a definite service in that. But I guess my other kind of inclination is, we should be looking at the data on where are a majority of the overdoses taking place in the city. And I don't know, I don't have that data in front of me, so I don't know if anyone can provide that, but to me, that would be the likely spot to find a place that, if that's where it's happening, that's where you would want to put it, right? And so I haven't seen that data, and so I guess that's what I'm asking for moving forward with this when it gets to city council. Yeah.
So based on zip codes, the highest rate of opioid overdose reported through our Rockford Fire Department and emergency department visits are zip codes 61102, 61103, 61104, and 61108. And just for a point of clarification as well, the Winnebago County Health Department is a registered syringe service program through the state of Illinois. And so they provide that service at their main location, as well as having a partnership with the court system and do it across the street from this proposed location as well. And I think, you know, ultimately this is a special use permit that would go through the special use permit process consistent with any other application, where it's on the applicant to demonstrate that there's not a negative findings of facts. Our staff review the information that's submitted, as well as the Zoning Board of Appeals and the public record, to determine a positive findings of fact or a negative findings of fact. From a staff level, we are not debating whether you know, a syringe exchange is, you know, good for the community or not. I think when you look at decades of research, they have very positive results on communities. The issue at hand is, has this applicant provided sufficient information to demonstrate how they're going to operate, and is there going to be any secondary effects that are detrimental to the surrounding properties? And when our staff has reviewed the request, they have not found it to be a positive findings of fact. And in essence, I believe it is characterized as a syringe handout, not necessarily an exchange. And so to your question, Alderman Rose, has the applicant properly demonstrated how they are going to exchange syringes so that they don't end up on the street in front of the properties? I don't believe that question has fully been answered, and part of the concerns with the application at hand.
There is information in the packet, Alderman Rose, about disposal of syringes and the waste management process. The city may not have been satisfied with it, but they did give this right here. This right here is literally, this is just one item. This is this item. And I have both sheets printed on both sides. There's quite a bit of information.
Okay.
I would encourage you to all read it. I had you first, Alderman Bailey.
Yeah. I appreciate all my colleagues' comments. This is directly in the 13th Ward. I didn't even know that this business existed in this building in the 13th Ward. And I'm in support of the exchange program. It's needed. I think we have to move beyond the stereotypes of individuals that have these addictions. I don't think it's going to damage our community. I think it's going to enhance it with the location of the courthouse, the transportation. I can't envision people just hanging out or seeing syringes thrown out on the streets. So I'm in support of this program with this exchange. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Durkee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The effectiveness of these programs are basically determined by what you're measuring. I think San Francisco is regretting some of their needle exchange programs as we speak. The one thing, the endpoints, they do decrease infectious disease. The needles are still just thrown all over the community. However, the increase, there is an increase in mortality from as a result of needle exchange programs in an area, and also increases in hospitalization. So it depends. I guess you survive HIV, but you kill yourself with an overdose. So the data is mixed, but people don't do well with needle exchange program. There's a higher incidence of overdose. So it depends what you're measuring. Do you measure the economic impact in the neighborhood that you place it? Those are all, they're not all positive, and there's quite a bit of negative. I'm also wondering how much injectables people are using with the free availability of fentanyl that you could just take. I know there's some data to suggest that addicted persons don't like the oral agents that much because they don't get the rapid high. But I'm wondering if the data will show that, how much needle use do we have. But I'm certainly not opposed. I'm certainly not would be in favor of putting this near downtown, since there's one already close. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? Alderman Bonnie?
Thank you. A couple of questions. So the applicant is a tenant. Who owns this building?
I believe it's the Freed Corporation.
And is the Freed Corporation, I know, is selling an office building, I believe in Alderman Beaches, did sell it?
And it wouldn't have been reflected,
Mayor Maxner.
I will look for the name Alderman Bonnie, but they just sold this property within the last 7-10 days at most. So I'll look for the name. I'm supposed to be meeting with the individual, but I don't think it would be reflective in any of the documentation sent in a month ago. So,
okay. And it was somebody stated that this is the applicant is a business. Is it a for-profit business or a nonprofit?
Not profit.
It's a nonprofit. Okay. And do we have any idea? So since we're not really sure who owns the building, presumably the applicant has the landlord's permission to do this? If we don't...
They signed off on the...
Not that that is a requirement on our part, but...
Well, they signed off on the application as the way they wrote the language as to what they were doing, which I don't think was actually clear because we had numerous conversations with this applicant, and it took us months to get an application that was finally acceptable to move forward because there were some unanswered questions. And then we brought it forward because really the only item that they deal with was the needle, and basically I want to say it's needle distribution because if you clearly read one of the exhibits in the report, which is their business plan, they clearly states that they hardly ever get any needles returned. And that's one of our big concerns. Where are they ending up? Are they ending up in our storm sewer system, in the regular garbage, dumpsters? So, we don't know.
Right. And do we, so not knowing for sure this landlord's position in all of this, but what about the other tenants, the law offices, the assessor's office, other government offices? Do we know something that, like, do they support this, oppose this? Do we have any idea?
So we did not receive any emails or letters of objection from any of the tenants. I'm not sure if they know about it or not. There was a notice posted on the front door of the building and also on the side door of the building stating that there was a public hearing. So,
okay. I agree with staff that this would be I would think this would be very discouraging use to a whole lot of people, both for-profit and non-profit, that have made substantial investments in downtown over the last 20 plus years. And, but I think this is particularly difficult because it's in a multi-story office building, and I just don't. It seems like a use that would conflict even within that building, and obviously it's privately owned, and landlord can do what they want. But I I just don't think it's not a compatible use even with the other tenants in the building, in my opinion. Thank you.
If I may, just one more little thing. That they do have outreach coordinators, and so they're not doing all of this out of their office solely. So some of these people are reaching out to some of our neighborhoods and the areas where they believe that drugs are being trafficked and people are buying and using. So they do have people going out and they're handing out some of these other materials that are lawful and aren't in violation of our ordinance. So, but we specifically told them that they could not take a mobile van and go around and distribute needles throughout the community because obviously a special use permit goes with the land and it's not something that you can take mobily and go do whatever you want throughout the city. So,
thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to lay this item over so we can get some more information from the health department on needle exchanges in this community, what that looks like.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Can we take a vote on the layover? Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Torino.
Aye.
Wilkins. Barrios. Bailey. Bonnie.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you very much. That item is laid over. Moving on to item number 6, 3104, 3118, and 3212 South Main Street, 360 Harrison Avenue, and 3151, 3162, and 3165 Express Lane. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for a special use permit for a planned unit development consisting of 68-unit, 3-story apartment building, 2 67-unit 3-story apartment buildings, and a 3-story assisted living building in a C2 limited commercial zoning district in R4 multifamily residential zoning district at 3104, 3118, and 3212 South Main Street, 360 Harrison Avenue, and 3151, 3162, and 3165 Express Lane. Alfred McConnell for Rock River Harrison LLC is the applicant. May I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Okay, wonderful. So we have a, I'll let staff present on this item, if you would, please.
This land is a mixture of a little C2 up along Harrison and South Main. The majority of the property is zoned R4. I'd like to point out that in our R4 district, we do allow up to 30 units per acre. So if you look at this, this development, this is actually a lot less dense than what it could be with the current zoning. There's a lot of topography changes here. I want to say it's like a 70-foot drop from the very top to the river. A lot of the stuff that's along the river there is not developable. It's considered priority acquisition on our comp plan. So the developer is willing to either donate that land to the city or to the park district as a passive recreational area. This is a really nice layout with these and nice architecture for these facilities. We've got great circulation around the property. There's also going to be underground parking in each one of the buildings, with the exception of the assisted living facility. So every tenant in the building will have the opportunity to have their car inside. There's good pedestrian elements connecting to our the path on South Main, as well as future path that'll be on Harrison, and this will be very well landscaped as well. It's very encouraging. We like working with people who are willing to work with us and provide a lot of these amenities that sometimes seem to be a struggle from other developers, but we're very happy with what we received, and I know that the zoning board was very encouraged by this development as well.
Any questions or discussion from the council? Okay, I just have a few comments because this is going in the 5th Ward. Obviously, I'm ecstatic to see some affordable housing coming into our community, so yay for that. I did get some concerns from a resident, and I just want to make sure that they're publicly addressed. I know that I've spoken to staff about them, but I just want to make sure that the public sort of knows. There was some issues because, as Director Capovilla stated, it is a very sort of rural area right on the river. There's a lot of trees and things, and there was some concerns about the disruption to nature, which we living in the forest city, that's something that we always have to be cognizant of. And there was reference to just removing certain types of trees and also disrupting an eagle's nest. Can you address that? And the other issue was traffic. Highly dense areas, a lot of high speeds coming down that sort of street, obviously on South Main and Harrison. It's a highly trafficked area, but I mean, we're going to see more traffic now with Coleman Yards and different things happening. But just people maybe thinking that there should be consideration for maybe a different traffic light or some different things. Can you just sort of address how the city is looking at those issues and just making sure those concerns are incorporated into the development, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, in reference to the, I'll go with the eagle first, since it's, I'd love to see that there's bald eagles along the Rock River. I remember the first ones that were ever seen in the area were up at the Rockton Dam, and they kind of morphed all the way south, which has been great. There is quite a population around the bridge area, South Main and Harrison. The final survey will let us know when they actually get out to figure out what trees would be removed for this development and which would stay. We'll determine where that eagle's nest is at. Obviously, if it's outside of the area, we're going to be fine with having it remain. If it's within that area, then we'll have to work with the developer to make sure the eagle's nest is saved. As for some of the tree types that exist, there are a lot of invasive species of trees here, and they're not native to the area. The developer hired a landscaper to go in there. They've done a tree survey there. They'd like to tear out all of the ones that are invasive so we can get rid of those. And they'll help the growth of the other mature trees on the property. The traffic, the traffic issue, we're requiring a traffic impact analysis of the intersection of Express Lane and Harrison, and incorporate that study into what we're currently planning for improvements on Harrison Avenue as well. Depending on the outcomes of that, I don't think we're going to anticipate that it would require any traffic signal at this intersection or not, because obviously when you're looking at the amount of residents that would be living here, the guess from the developer is probably only that a third of them probably won't even have their own transportation. So we'd be looking at only 2/3 of the people that actually have vehicles. So we think that that's going to come into play with this. But that traffic impact analysis that's being required will be analyzed by Director Hinkins and Mr. Carter, and they'll make some final determinations on what would happen at this location.
All right, thank you very much. Any more questions or discussion? We'll take a vote. Clerk, will you please call the roll? Aye.
Barrios. Aye. Bailey. Aye. Bonnie. Aye. 5 ayes.
5 ayes. Thank you. That item passes. Moving on to number 7, 4427 Auburn Street. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for a zoning map amendment from R1 Single Family Residential Zoning District to C3 General Commercial Zoning District at 4427 Auburn Street. Gerardo Castillo is the applicant. May I have a motion to approve this item? Okay. Any questions for staff? No questions. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The item passes. Number 8, 3329 Auburn Street. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for a special use permit for the outdoor U-Haul truck rental in the C3 General Commercial Zoning District at 3329 Auburn Street. Latanya Cross is the applicant. May I have a motion to approve this item? Second. Any questions for staff on the U-Haul? Just having U-Haul flashbacks. Any questions for staff? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. You didn't mean that. He didn't mean that. That item passes. Did you mean that? You were no the U-Haul for real? Okay. Still passes. He was for real. Okay. I thought you were. I really did think you were joking. All right. You just don't. Was it 2? Was it 2? What was it? Oh. Okay. Okay. Got you. But it wasn't no. Yes. Okay. Just want to be sure. Okay. Yeah. All right, number 9, 6876 Spring Creek Road, Suite 128. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for a special use permit for an event space with a small catering kitchen in a C3 General Commercial Zoning District at 6876 Spring Creek Road, Suite 128. Anthony Artali is the applicant. May I have a motion to approve this item? Second. Any questions for staff on this one? I have a question. I guess I'm concerned a little bit with the parking situation over there. It looks like they're looking for this event space to house 150 people. So I'm just thinking in terms of, you know, maybe you had people in the store, the other stores, the event space, and then eventually I'm sure the hope would be that we would get an occupant in that other unutilized restaurant space. How are they for parking over there? Because it seems like it's pretty tight. Now, when you try and go to Salt, even though it's right across the street, it's still pretty close. So sometimes the Salt people are in the parking lot for Artali, and then now Artali is trying to add an event space with 450 people, and then a restaurant. So I'm concerned with the parking because of all these factors.
So in terms of parking, the space that they're taking was already classified as restaurant space. And so the parking ratios are very similar, so we feel that parking would not be an issue because that space will no longer be available to that portion of the former restaurant that was there. The hours of Artali also, he closes at 9 o'clock at night, so a lot of these restaurants might be a little bit busier after that. I don't think that'd be an issue. There's other uses in the center that are.
Do we know how many parking spots are there? Forgive me if that was in the staff report and I didn't see it.
I'd have to sit here and count them all. What, do I say it in there? Oh, we did have it in there. Thanks. So there's 128 spaces on the site.
128 spaces. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Alderwoman Meeks?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm just curious because I'm trying to get an eye on the location. Is this where what I remember to be the former Pearl restaurant corner?
Yeah, it would take that portion of what used to be Pearl and had that little banquet area to the left if you walked in. This would now become a part of Artali's. So
I love that restaurant. I love that space. It's such a good location. I don't know what happens, but I hope that this works out well. So thank you for the clarification.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The item passes. 1515 Kishwaukee Street. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for a special use permit, passenger vehicle sales and vehicle detailing, and a variation to reduce the required perimeter landscaping along Kishwaukee Street, and a variation to eliminate the required perimeter landscaping along Bell Place in a C3 General Commercial Zoning District at 1515 Kishwaukee Street. Eduardo Pedamonte is the applicant. May I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Okay. Any questions or discussion for staff from council? Okay. So I do have another concern with this one. So I happened to be driving through this area maybe a couple of weeks ago. I had my mom in the car with me, and we were driving down Kishwaukee, and it happened to be at night. And she goes, I hate all of that junk at that business on that corner. It's just always a bunch of cars sitting out there. And I go, yeah, I've often wondered why the business looks that way, why there are so many abandoned looking cars. Like, it's more than just these are the cars that are there being serviced. It's these cars have been sitting there for years. And it does begin to look especially bad when there's snow on them, and it looks horrible, quite frankly, especially in a business district that needs rejuvenation. In a business district where there is a laundromat across the street, there is a fish restaurant across the street. We have a McDonald's. We're building a brand new grocery store, and now we're losing the Walgreens directly across the street. It concerns me. So then this comes up 2 weeks later on council for them to essentially add more cars to the area. Now, granted, the applicant is looking at 1515 Kishwaukee, but the corner became in question because the owner also owns this property as well. And so for me, I did text everyone on this committee the pictures of what I'm talking about, because I saw it at night 2 weeks ago, but I actually went today. So the pictures that I text you are from today. There's probably 20 cars on that lot, and it looks bad. And I want businesses to succeed. That I'm never in this position for businesses to not. But I do have a problem with the upkeep and the way they make this property look on a daily basis. It's not what we want for the 5th Ward. It's not what we want for Ward 11. As far as I'm concerned, we're talking about uplifting businesses, uplifting our areas. It looks bad, and it has looked bad for years. This is not a new issue. You can go to Google Maps right now and look. Now, you actually can't research it from the 1528 address, but you can actually, if you look up the Catch's address, you put in the Catch address, you do a Google search, you can look across the street, and you can see that there were cars. Whenever, when Google does their worldwide search, they'll show you things from years ago. So that just goes to show you that there's just abandoned cars sitting there all the time. So my fear is that we grant them this special use permit to bring cars in to the property, and they're not. I don't like the way that they keep their properties ultimately. So I'm concerned. I'm highly concerned with that. So for me, I would say no, but at the same time, I want to give the opportunity for the business to correct that. Or do you have anything to say, the business's defense on this?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair.
Is it zoned to look like a junkyard?
No, it is not. In fact, there are some conditions of approval from their special use permit in 2009, which they currently would be in violation of, because I saw the same thing that you saw just a couple weeks ago myself. The problem is I was waiting for someone else to complain. Because if I went out, I would complain about a lot of properties myself, obviously, because I know that I've got the eye and I know the properties and I know who's in violation, but I don't need to create work for everybody else on my staff. So, but no, seriously, the owner has stated before, and I think I want to say we had him in about 6 years ago to discuss this problem, and people take their cars there, they get them repaired, and then they don't come back to get them because they can't afford to pay, and so he blocks them in with other cars, and he waits for them to come, and they pay little by little, and eventually he gets rid of one after a couple, 3 months, and this is the story he's kind of told us. And he made some attempts and was doing a lot better, but I think when COVID hit, we just kind of ignored him for a while, and then when I did go by there the other day, I was like, wow, that place does not look good at all. So we can discuss that with him about cleaning up that site again. I can find out if he's having the same issues with people not paying for having their vehicles repaired, because obviously he just doesn't want someone to come with an extra set of keys and take off in the car, and he's going to be out $1,500 for repairs he did to someone's vehicle. I can't blame him for that. So I can have code enforcement go out there and take a look at that.
I would be comfortable with a stipulation added to this. I would motion to make an amendment that they have 6 months to remove these cars in order to get this approval as a stipulation to the approval of the special use permit. Alderman Barrios.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. Okay, so It's already done. Whatever you ask, it's already done to May 15. So we in process. We've been working this out, and I'm so glad that you're driving in my ward and you see the conditions that we have. Because, believe me, we need a lot of help. Did you ever drove on 20th Avenue? Between 9th Street and 7th Street on 20th Avenue?
Have I driven over there?
Yeah. Oh, good, good. Because we have an industrial park that has been like that for so many years. So I agree with you. Let's clean it up. Yeah. I agree. Okay. So, but also we got to start looking for the resources to bring help to our core enforcement, because we only have few inspectors, so we need help. I'm so glad that you brought that together. Yeah. Thank you.
Right. And what I'm saying is, the point of this is that I don't want to say no. I want this business to have what they're asking for, but this is an opportunity for us to take care of it. So, thank you. Yeah. Alderman Bonnie?
So is this in fact in the 11th ward, and it borders the 5th ward? No.
So if I may, Madam
or is
Chair,
this in one of the...
If you look at the agendas these days,
it wouldn't matter to me what ward it was in.
you'll notice that there's a ward and then there's a future ward.
Future ward, okay.
So if you read that closely, you'll notice it's currently in Alderman Barrios' ward, but it will be in Madam Chair's ward here.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter what ward it is. I work for the city of Rockford, so I can make decisions about any part of it. So if it was in the 4th ward, actually, it would never happen in the 4th ward. How about that? Or yours, probably. But it definitely wouldn't happen in the 4th. Sorry, no offense to Kevin, to Mr. Frost, but what we know is that certain issues like this wouldn't happen in all the wards. But we do have the opportunity to fix it. So I made a motion with the stipulation of proving this with the owner of the 15, he's also the owner of the property next door, which is unsightly. You have pictures. What I'm asking is that we don't deny it, but we do approve this with the stipulation that they take care of these abandoned cars on the property of next door that they own. Alderman Rose.
With the stipulation, I'm not voting on this, but I'm just asking for clarity. Would they have to remove the cars first in order for this to move forward, or would they be given access and then given the 6 months?
I feel like we're giving them 6 months to remove them.
But they would be, I guess the question is are they given the approval to move forward with a 6 month after? The reason I ask is because I feel like you're more likely to get them to act if you say, remove the cars first, and then we'll provide you with the permit. Because then when you do it the other way,
I was trying to be nice.
yeah, I'm not. I don't play nice when it comes to that stuff.
I was trying to be nice. I was thinking 90 days, not 6 months. But again, that's being generous because the city gets enough slack already because we're not kind enough to businesses. So this is giving them plenty of half a year. It should take a weekend. It takes a day. So it doesn't have to be 6 months, but any thoughts on any other just weigh in? Alderman Bonnie.
We've laid several items over already. I'm wondering if we shouldn't lay this one over too.
Are you making that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that. All those in favor of a layover, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Thank you. All right, we're almost there. We're getting there. Getting there. 7676 East State Street, the Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board recommends approval for the sale of liquor by the drink, packaged liquor sales, and outdoor seating area in conjunction with a hotel and restaurant in the C3 General Commercial Zoning District at 7676 East State Street, Vishna Rockford, doing business as Courtyard by Marriott is the applicant. May I have a motion to approve this item? Motion to approve the item?
So moved.
I'll second. Thank you. I guess my only question on this one, Mr. Capavilla, is has this? I don't know if I've misread something or what, but Is this changing hands? Is the hotel changing hands, or are they just changing their liquor license?
No, they're just changing hands.
Okay.
So this is currently what exists at the current courtyard. So a new company's taking over.
Okay, has this new company ever had a liquor license with the city of Rockville before?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. That item passes. Number 12, 6876 Spring Creek Road, Suite 128. Liquor Tobacco Advisory Board recommends approval for a modification of existing liquor license to include an expansion of the liquor store to include an event space with small catering kitchen with the sale of liquor by the drink in a C3 General Commercial Zoning District at 6876 Spring Creek Road, Suite 128. Artali Wine and Spirits is the applicant. May I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Any questions on this item? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The item passes. Lastly, thank you so much. Final resolution. Forward for Fund, permits and special events. Permission for allocation of $140,000 in an expedited special event permit process for multiple events throughout the city in partnership with Alderman and the Rockford Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, RACVB. May I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Thank you. They actually go by Go Rockford now as well. So, any questions for staff for Forward for Fund? Was that a question for real? Okay. Alderwoman Meeks.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I just want to thank everybody on council for, I think this will be the third year of funding for Forward for Fun. And it has done exactly what I think it was supposed to do and what it was intended for. And I'm just so proud of it and happy to see it push through and so many events that came from it. And so I just want to say thank you to the staff. Marty, you have done an amazing job of coordinating this and getting everything done. You and Elise have been amazing. So I just want to thank you for all of your efforts and everyone for continuing to support this program. Thank you.
Amen, my sister. Alderman Durkee.
What is the, what's the partnership now with RACVB?
They are just the fiscal agent for.
Oh, so the funds come.
The funds come from them.
From them, through them. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. Thank you, Mr. Bloom. May I have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
Chuckles? I don't know. Like, we've already been here long enough. Hi, friend.
Hi, Ann. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm great.
Sir Clerk, could you please take roll? Here. Okay, it's just three of us tonight, so you know the drill. First, under information only, there's a change order to TCI Concrete. There was an original contract of about $2.1 million, and this is for the citywide street repairs group number 2. There was a $60,000 approved change order that included additional earth excavation, retaining walls, curb and gutter repairs, sidewalk, driveway approaches, ADA repairs, and drainage repairs. Again, this is just informational. I think it's already taken place. So we're going to move on to committee reports. Item A is approval of vouchers in the amount of $12,192,015.34. Is there a motion to approve vouchers?
Second.
Any questions or comments on vouchers? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item B is a proposed sale of city-owned property at 4640 West State Street to tourist investors for their offer in the amount of $42,000. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item C is proposed sale of city property at 121 South Main Street to Urban Equity Properties for their offer in the amount of $64,000. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item D is an approval for this for the slant interagency agreement. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions for staff on the slant agreement? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item E is an approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Rockford and the Village of Cherry Valley for the annual citywide pavement marking paint project. It is through December 30, 2028 with 2 one-year renewal options. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Okay. Item F is the approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Rockford and the City of Belvedere for an annual citywide pavement marking paint project. It is also through December 30, 2028 with 2 one-year renewal options. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
All right. Any questions for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Oh, Alderman Beach, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had some discussion in the past about maybe a different color paint for the bicycle lanes to start educating the drivers that green or red or whatever color you choose means spikes. Be careful. And I've always been told, well, that's a good idea, but perhaps it's too much money. But I'd sure like to see that discussed and talked with about doing something, since we are really making an effort for bicycle lanes all over the city of Rockford. So it doesn't, to me, I think we need to invest in it for the safety of the driver and the bicyclist. So that's a comment. I don't know if it's going to be addressed here, but at least I want to put it on the floor that we need to be thinking about that.
Sure. And Mr. Higgins, I don't know, isn't there a federal statute, is it
METCD.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does that govern like the colors that are used?
Green would be the color for bicycles.
Green. All right. Is that something we could consider?
We definitely consider it, yes.
All right, great. Thank you, Alderman Beach.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for bringing that up. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah.
All right. I think we already voted on it, though, right?
Number.
Yep. No?
Just before.
No? Okay. All right. All those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Moving on to resolutions, we have an award of an engineering agreement for the Keith Creek widening to H.R. Green in the amount of $640,060. The contract duration is from February 3rd, 2025 through December 30, 2025. The funding source is the CIP General Fund. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any questions or comments for staff? All right, seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item B is an award of bid for the citywide street repairs, group number 1 to Rock Road Companies in the amount of $9,064,960.81. The contract duration is through August 1, 2025. The funding source is the fiscal year budget surplus funds. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Are there any questions? We have Mr. Matz here tonight. Anyone have any questions for him?
None? All right, there you go. All those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Thanks for coming. Item C is an award of construction engineering agreement for citywide street repairs group number 1 to Willett Hoffman and Associates, the amount of $135,026.84. The contract is through August 29, 2025, and the funding source is the fiscal year 2023 budget surplus funds. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Are there any questions for any staff, including Mr. Mattson? All right, seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item D is an award of bid for citywide sidewalk repairs package number 1 to Norwest Construction in the amount of $215,929.20. The contract duration is through June 13, 2025. The funding source is the 1% infrastructure sales tax. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item E is award of bid for citywide bridge preservation 2025 to M&M Concrete in the amount of $59,814. The contract duration is through August 1, 2025. The funding source is the motor fuel tax. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any questions for staff? I just have a question. Is it Mr. Mattson to you? It seems like a rather small amount for all of our bridges, or does this just pertain to a limited number of bridges?
Yeah, a limited number. We do a certain amount every year, and they're in a rotation.
Okay. All right, great, thank you. Seeing no other questions, all those in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passes. Item F is award of design engineering agreement to Rock River Stabilization at Jefferson Street Bridge to Esplanade Seawall Repairs to H.R. Green in the amount of $74,410. The contract duration is through August 2025. The funding source is sales tax. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Are there any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item G is an award of design engineering agreement for Lower Jefferson Street Rock River Storm Sewer Outlet Reconstruction to H.R. Green in the amount of $114,508. The contract duration is through August 2025. The funding source is the CIP General Fund. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Are there any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item H is an acceptance of the IEMA Emergency Management Performance Grant Award in the amount of $42,884.96. The grant requires a cost match in the amount of $42,884.93. The grant term is from October 1, 2024 through September 30, 2025. The grant funds will be used to pay a portion of the already budgeted salary of the individual designated as the City of Rockford Emergency Management Director. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Are there any questions for staff? Alderman Beach.
Does our match come from general fund? Fund?
Who can answer that? Chief?
So I didn't hear your question, Alderman Beach. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Does the match, our match, come from general fund? I don't see a source of our match here.
It does, but it's already part of an already budgeted position. So our operations chief is designated as the coordinator, and so because it's already budgeted,
I got
that's
it.
why you don't see that.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Moving on to I is an award of non-competitive contract virtual chief information security officer and a security analyst to Illumination Consulting of Cherry Valley, an estimated annual amount of $170,000 based on hourly rates. The contract duration is 1 year with 3 possible one-year extension options. Annual price adjustments for CPI will be considered at contract renewal only. The funding source is the Information Technology Fund operating budget. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Are there any questions or comments for staff? All right, seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item J is the amendment to the professional services agreement for tax increment financing consultation, River District, TIF District to Ryan LLC. in the amount of $62,500. The amendment expands the engagement scope of the original agreement to add additional parcels to the River District North TIF District. The funding source will be the newly created Maine and Mulberry TIF. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Are there any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, Alderman Beach, you have a question?
Well, I was just concerned about, we're just adding a couple of parcels, correct? Does this whole agreement have to be redone?
Go ahead.
In order to, so we currently are engaged with our TIF consultant to reevaluate how the boundary of the River District North TIF District, as well as create a new TIF district. However, the engagement for that was only to remove certain parcels from the River District North TIF. This new amendment is to be able to add parcels to that TIF district.
So some are going to be removed from?
Correct.
And others are going to be added?
Correct.
And will the council know what parcels are going to be removed?
We would be preparing to present that to you, I believe, in about May or June of this year.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item K is an approval and acceptance of administration of Children and Families Office of Head Start, change in scope of services applications to Head Start or the Head Start services, the amount of $8,793,903. The grant requires a cost match in the amount of $2,198,476. The grant term is from April 1, 2023 to March 31, 2028. This application seeks to reduce our required enrollment while maintaining our current funding levels. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any questions, comments for staff? Alderman Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of questions. I tried to get hold of the director today. I know she's very, very busy. But first question, I assume that this amount of money is for the 5 years, from 23 to 28, right? It's not the same amount every year, or is it? Then the second question is, I noticed that the amount of students that we're going to deal with is going to be reduced down to 450. So I was just concerned, again, the price tag is going up, the number of students we're dealing with is going down. I was concerned about whether I'm thinking about that right. Is that what I'm reading? And is that true? Because if that's true, it's about $20,000 a student for 450.
Yes, the same amount every year. The funding source is the same amount for the 5-year grant period. And you're correct. We are required by the Office of Head Start to reduce funding in order to address pay parity and to use the savings from reducing the enrollment to put it back into salaries.
Okay. So then what we're really voting on is $8.7 million times 5. That's what we're voting on tonight, right?
Correct. We already have that. The grant is already in place. We're already in the middle of the 5-year grant period. We're just changing how those dollars are then allocated.
I see. So, can you talk to, Mr. Chairman, may I have more questions?
Go right ahead.
Can you talk to us again about lowering the number of kids down to 450? What's the rationale beyond that? What's happening to those kids?
Absolutely. So the Office of Head Start came out with several mandates, some unfunded, one of them being that they're now requiring Head Start programs to address pay parity, to do a wage study, and then to bring wages up to more competitive salaries. And what they were saying is we were not going to give additional funding in order for you to do that, but that the recommendation was to reduce enrollment and then to use that cost savings from reducing enrollment and put it back into salaries.
I'll tell you. Well, I appreciate the frank response, but to me, it's the wrong direction. Not the wrong direction to pay people more, but the wrong direction to do more programs for the young kids. I mean, honestly, that's not too cool. And we have to figure a different way how to do this, as far as I'm concerned. I know that Alderman Durkee has talked about this in the past. Other organizations maybe should be looked at, or we have to figure out some way to have some cooperation between other groups that may be able to work with the kids. Maybe the school district should do more. I don't know. But to spend this kind of money for 450 kids, that's a lot of money. That's almost $20,000 a student. That's such a serious chunk of money. Well, that's the end of my comments for now, sir.
Can I respond to that amount? So currently we're paying roughly around $10,000 per child per year, which is significantly under the amount that the Office of Head Start expects us to be. They expect us to be somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 per child per year. So yes, you're correct. That is a lot of money for fewer children. However, that is the mandate that we have been given from the Office of Head Start.
Well, I compliment you for what you do, that's for sure. So my comments and my concerns, my disappointment is not against you.
Sure.
You do a wonderful job. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
But I think we need to look at it a different way if we're really concerned about kids, and we surely are concerned about them. Then we need to figure a different way how to move forward we don't even do anything for the kids in the middle schools. I mean, where the problems really come up, we take issue with its children, which we should, and their families when they get to middle school. Well, not enough of that, Mr. Chairman. I don't know what to do here on this vote.
Thank you. I have two hands up. Mayor McNamara,
Wanted to add, we're all saying per student. It's actually per family as well, just because with Early Head Start and Head Start, and I should mention, we do have partnerships with Rockford Public Schools, which does allow us to serve more kids than if we probably just serve them on our own. But this is entire wraparound services. So the Early Head Start is 0 to 3 years old, if I recall, and Head Start is 4 and 5 years old, and they provide full wraparound services for not just that child, but the entire family as well. So you'll probably see a little bit of an increase compared to some other schools, even though most of the schools in Rockford area, I would venture off, the last time I looked, we're in that $12,000 to $17,000, $18,000 range. You'll see a little bit, typically more with Head Start, because they're setting up appointments, they're going into the family's home, working with the young kids, doing doctor's appointments, physicals, dental appointments, you name it, transporting kids at times. So all of that is thrown into that one cost.
Alderman Meeks.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak on your committee. Can I just ask, where did this unfunded mandate come down from?
Sure. Before I answer your question, just one more thing. We actually start serving with pregnant moms. Is where we actually begin our programming. So this unfunded mandate came down from the Office of Head Start, the federal government, as a part of the updated performance standards, which were published into law as of August of 2024. So that is where it came from.
So would it be our lobbyists that would kind of help us work through some of the concerns that we have? Can anyone answer that?
I would answer that as chairman of the Legislative Lobbying Committee, that our lobbyist doesn't really, I think, have a lot of interaction, I don't think, with the federal government on the federal level with the administration in Washington, D.C. to change the national, as much as I'd like to see it change, the National Head Start program and its amendment that just took place in August of last year.
Yeah, I want to thank Alderman Beach for his concern. I really do. I agree with that concern. I think that these unfunded mandates make it very difficult for these departments to function. And I do not like the idea of having to decrease the number of children served in order to get to a point where we're paying proper wages to the staff. But I know that it's important that we pay proper wages, and it's important that we get on that level that the federal government says we should be on in order to implement our services. So I think there is a huge conversation that needs to take place about how we handle this in our own community. But I'm very appreciative of your concerns, Alderman Beach. Thank you.
Alderman Hoffman, your hand up.
Thank you for allowing me to speak in your committee. Can you please tell me how much we're paying our Head Start teachers right now, and when we make this change, how much we will be able to pay them?
So I think the current salary rate is $19.62 an hour is what they're being paid. There's still some questions around that final, but what we did was able to create a tiered system that would allow for education and longevity. And so that is the way the salary is going to look. So it's not like a one-size-fits-all based on where people are, both in their education and how long they have given service to the city of Rockford. And so we have people that's been there like a year and some that's been there as long as almost 20 years.
Go ahead, Bob.
At one time, we demanded that they have 4-year degrees. At this time, I believe one of our problems is we can't attract that group of folks because of the low salary. Isn't that part of our issue, is trying to get people that are at a certain educational level to work for the salaries that we're offering?
That is correct. So this is actually a nationwide issue, which is why the Office of Head Start, then they created this mandate, in that there was a time when they were requiring a bachelor's level degree. However, most of the staff would come in and you would lose them within a year, because then they could go into the district and they would make more and they would actually get increases a lot quicker than what they would get here. So what they're saying is, okay, we see the issue now, because as a result of this decrease in staffing, classroom would have to be closed, and enrollment levels would drop just because you didn't have the staff to be able to have the classroom. So that is where this mandate came from. This is kind of the Office of Head Start solution to address pay parity, mostly for the hiring and the retention of staff.
Alderman Beach.
Thanks for your patience, Mr. Chairman. At some time, perhaps not this evening, but sometime in the near future, I'd like to get a list of all the organizations that serve this community with similar services, such as the wraparound the mayor speaks about, to deal with the families and what their needs are, to see how many other organizations, perhaps we're even funding, that do that same thing. I'd like to know what that is, okay, at some time. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Alderman Beach. While there are several programs out there that serve early childhood, there are not programs out there like Head Start that do a comprehensive services where we do education, social services, nutrition, dental, health, home visiting, you name it, we're doing it. And the reality is that we've been doing it in this community since 1965 when we got the first pilot program. So there's, like I said, there's other places out there that provide early childhood, but there are no places that's doing the full services. They may be doing some portion of it, but not completely to fidelity as we do in Head Start.
Well, I know, because of my involvement with the Salvation Army, I do know that they are involved with Head Start programs throughout the country. Some where they do all of it, and I think you're aware of that as well. But what does it take to work with another nonprofit to maybe even lift that program away and be able to serve more clients, if you will? Does it all have to be a government-assisted program, or is part of the program can be done by other qualified not-for-profits?
While all of the programs don't have to be ran by government programs. It can be ran whoever the grantee is. It's still going to be the same. Even if it goes to a nonprofit, the expectation from the Office of Head Start is that you serve somewhere between 15 and 20,000 per child per year, so they're not going to serve more. The only way we'd be able to do that is to go to decrease somewhere, and the hit's going to be more than likely on salary and benefits, then we were back in the same position that we're in before, not able to attract, hire, and retain qualified staff, and then also the key word being qualified. So they would be in the same situation, and even in that, the Office of Head Start would mandate that they do the same thing if they're the grantee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I would just add, we do partner with nonprofits. Helping Hands, I believe, is one of our nonprofits. So we're partnering with the school district as well as other nonprofits. And I know our team has went to some lengths over the years to find other nonprofits who would want to partner that can meet all of the specifications. I would also say, I think Alderwoman Meeks brought up a good point about lobbying efforts. I don't think our lobbyists would do that. I think right now we probably need far greater lobbying efforts to actually just keep Head Start alive. I mean, there is, I'm not here to get political, but there is a huge push by one specific administration that actually just wants to do away with Head Start. And so that, I think, is our big fear. So we are trying to stay within those guidelines, make sure that we're paying people a good wage, make sure we're serving as many kids as we humanly possibly can with the funds that are provided, but we just need to keep the program as well. Because we have, we should get the stats again, but we had really tremendous stats from Rockford Public Schools a couple years ago. We should bring that back to council, so that I'll apologize for not having done that, but we'll bring it back. But I know a couple years ago we had really good stats that showed kids who were in the Head Start program, how they matriculated through with less discipline issues, that were getting good grades and doing very well at Rockford Public Schools. So I'll see if I can get that information for us. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Alderman Durkee.
Yeah, I just, may I ask the mayor a question?
I'm sorry?
May I ask the mayor a question?
Sure, you can direct a question to the mayor.
Thank you. Just to clarify, I know you carry on your little data cards. Because Head Start is not, in a lot of programs, is not shown to be effective at all. There's extinction in learning into kindergarten and into the third grade level, unless it's coupled with something like Salvation Army or some big program. But our data here, no, that's correct. Our data here is different. So we're showing success then, as opposed to others.
So I just speaking with Ms. Hughes, we've been asking for that data, so we will get it. We had the data, I think I stated just a couple years ago. I want to say, Alderman Durkee, it was 2 or 3 years ago. We brought data before this body and provided it, and our data did show that those kids who were in Head Start and participated in Head Start, they were doing well through Rockford Public Schools. I know, again, we request it. We'll make sure that we get it.
So it's our partnership, Head Start, coupled with Rockford Public Schools. That's the part.
It's a whole thing. So we're also, I shouldn't be the, Faniqua Hughes is far more articulate and knowledgeable about the program, but we have partnerships with Helping Hands, with Rockford Public Schools, and I believe other nonprofits. It's the entire program. I don't think it broke it out which programs it was part of.
If I may. So the biggest misconception is that Head Start is an education program, but the reality is it's a social service program with an education component. It has several components. It has health, it has dental, it has nutrition, social services. Education is just one piece of it. And so when you look at it to compare it with other programs, it's really apples to oranges. And so in those Head Start rooms, we have Head Start staff and RPS staff working side by side, 2 teachers one from each program. So the contributions that Head Start makes to the success of a family is in collaboration with several different entities. But overall, it's the Head Start that looks at the family as a whole and address all the different issues, the trauma, the social determinants of health, all those things, so that the family as a whole can be successful in turn, and the child is successful through school.
That's how it morphed, but it's not how Lyndon Johnson set it up in '65. Primary outcomes were educational. I mean, that's really a lot of the point. The way out of poverty is education and training and work readiness and academic ability. So that has always been a key piece of it. But it's morphed over time, and that is why people are questioning its overall effectiveness and looking at outcomes.
Alderman Rose.
Just to address those outcomes, I believe it was when we reviewed those stats, was that the outcomes in comparison to students that did not partake in Head Start were that those outcomes were, I don't know if you can say significant, because that's a term that is used for statistical reasons, but there was a difference. I don't know if it's a significant difference, but there was a difference. And I think it's also important, too, is that a lot of times those criticisms are generated politically to defund those education systems, right? And so it's really interesting to see how the national criticism of our public school system is, especially when we talk about colleges. And you hear people who say, well, college isn't for everyone. And I always just kind of laugh, because that's their nice way of saying, let's defund college access. So I think it's important that the public be aware of some of those types of euphemisms to defund education, and understand that education should be for everyone who wants to access it. Who want to access it.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. It seems like maybe that would be I don't know what our power or role or responsibility is with respect to Head Start, since the city of Rockford per se doesn't fund it, except what we just did recently. But maybe it would be a topic for strategic sessions, so that we could gather more information and see what, if anything, we would be able to do to I don't know, make it better. Look at the budget problems, do what we could do here in Rockford with other social service agencies, get more people on board. Like for instance, I know the Boys and Girls Club does. I can't think of the property that they purchased years ago on Kilburn, but they have a program that they run there after school for certain grades. So we could look at what we're doing as a community, and what we're capable of doing, what we're I guess able to do on from a federal, state, and local level. Just a thought. Thank you, Alderman Tuber, for not saying anything. All right, moving on. We have one more item on the agenda. Item L is to rescind the award of bid and award a new contract for well house number 40 improvements, rescinding the award of bid to Shostrom & Sons due to an error in a bid, and awarding a new contract to Scandroli Construction in the amount of $696,696.21. The contract duration is through August of 2025, and the funding source is the Water Replacement Improvement Account. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments? Alderman Meeks.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I don't think I've ever seen a rescind award of bid. Is this something that often happens?
Would like to address this? Yeah.
They don't happen frequently, but when vendors have an issue where they miscalculated, we're willing to rescind the award in some circumstances.
So what's the difference between that and then the information only change orders? Yeah, I'm like, hold on, hold on.
So an informational change order is when the vendor we are working with has to make a change because of changes in the conditions once they get into the ground or on the site. They see a change in our expectations, right? You get into the ground, you're not going to know what you're going to see. This is beforehand. They miscalculated, I think, staff costs.
Fully understand. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? None? All right. All those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Matter passes. Is there a motion to adjourn? This meeting is adjourned.
Wait. Mr. Chair, we vote on item H.
Item H. We missed the vote on item H.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The meeting is not adjourned. We're re-adjourning. Item H was the award of design and engineering agreement for Rock River stabilization at the Jefferson Street Bridge for the seawall repairs to H.R. Green in the amount of $74,410. This contract.
It's the acceptance of the Illinois Emergency Management Agency. It's item H.
I'm sorry, I read the wrong one. All right, so I previously read item H, which is the acceptance of the IEMA Emergency Management Performance Grant Award. I believe there was a motion. We have a motion again? Second. All right. Are there any questions for staff? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Item H passes. Now is there a motion to adjourn? Second. All right. All those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. This meeting is adjourned.